Hey guys, what's up? Hamza here, and this is the review of my Nokia C7, which is basically a Nokia N8 but with a bit short list of features. So what do we have in this package? Well, we get the same 680 MHz processor as the N8, same 256 MB RAM as the N8, but the internal memory has dropped from 16 GB to mere 8 GB. But you can of course expand it using the micro SD card. And the famous 12 megapixel camera has been dropped to mere 8 megapixel, and the autofocus feature has gone out of the window. And you also lose the HDMI connector and the USB connector, which allows you to connect your USB flash drive to phone directly and copy data to that drive. And of course, last but not least, you also lose the anodized aluminum body. So what do you get in this phone in terms of build quality compared to the N8? Well, the aluminum is gone, the stainless steel is in. You got stainless steel around the screen and at the back, but this is no unibody, so you can't expect the same build quality as the N8 to this model. But in general terms, I think this is bloody good. The phone is very solid and it can easily survive years in your pocket. The screen is Gorilla Glass, so it's extremely sturdy, but the scratches that you currently see on this phone is on the protective cover right here. The screen is the same 3.5 inches, 640 by 360, and uses the capacitive technology with multi-touch input. It even uses the same operating system, which is the Symbian 3, and that will be the last Symbian operating system that we'll be seeing in any Nokia device or any device at all. Because they are now switching to a Linux based operating system, which I think its name is Migo, or maybe it's Mimo, I don't know. So that's that for the specs of the phone. Now let's check out the hardware of this phone. As I said, stainless steel here, stainless steel on the back, very durable plastic all over, and Gorilla Glass of course at the front. So at the front, beneath the screen you have 3 buttons, 2 for calls and 1 for menu, and on the top you have front facing camera with that proximity sensor, and of course a speakerphone for making the calls. On the back you have the 8 megapixel camera with fixed focus and dual LED flash, which are surrounded by dual stereo sound speakers. And of course beneath the cover you have the battery, the SIM card and the micro SD slot. Sadly, the micro SD slot is beneath the battery, so you have to remove the battery every time you need to remove the card. So that can be a bit of a problem for people who use SD card a lot. On the left side you just have the small pin charger, which is kind of disappointing when all the manufacturers have moved towards the micro USB. But you do have the micro USB, which is at the top, and that is only for the data sync. With that you have the 3.5mm headphone jack and the power on off button. And on the right side you have volume buttons, the voice command button, and beneath that a slider to lock and unlock the phone, which is very intuitive, and I think all the manufacturers should use this approach. And of course you also have the button which doesn't have the, well, it doesn't have any presence because it doesn't have the autofocus. So this button is basically to snap the picture, and there is no dual function here. And on the bottom you just have the lanyard attachment hole. The microphone, however, is located right here. The phone also has GPS with digital compass, and it also offers you lifetime usage of their satellite navigation services by Nokia, of course. So that's that for the hardware front. And the specs, let's dive into the software. The software is same as the N8, so it uses the Symbian 3 operating system. You get 3 home screens, and you can of course customize that screen with a lot of widgets. Now, nice thing about this home screen compared to the other widget based home screens in other manufacturers is that all the widgets have the same size. You can also put a lot of shortcuts here, like you can see over here. So the phone, that means the management of the screen is really easy. You know that no widget is going to take 2 slots. Every widget is going to take just 1 slot, and that makes that managing the screen a bit more easier. So at first, if you might think only 3 home screens, well, you can fit a lot of widgets on the onto these three home screens, so you won't even feel the lack of extra home screens like found on the Samsung or on the HTC. Open up the menu, and it's the same Nokia menu that we have just become bored by seeing. It has a bit of color, but then again, please Nokia, grow up. These icons are really old and really boring. As for the screen is superb, and in the sunlight you can see even the colors on the screen. So this AMOLED screen is brilliant, and I believe the best one on the Nokia phones that I have ever seen. As for the camera delivers, well, satisfactory results. Of course, it's not autofocus, so I can't argue about the sharpness or anything. It also makes 720p video, which is brilliant, I must say. The quality of the video is just superb, and because this is LED and not Xenon flash, you can use that for video light as well. I think that feature is missing on the N8. As for the stereo speakers, well, they are stereo, but the quality is A-okay. You can't call them superb quality. They are nowhere close to the Nokia 5800, which has superb quality from the speakers and from the headphone. By the way, from the headphone, this has the same quality as the 5800, maybe better at some points. Okay, you have the multi-touch, which means you can pinch to zoom on the web pages and on the photos. And this bigger processor also means that you can play high definition videos onto this phone without even converting them to lower resolution, which is superb because those videos look absolutely brilliant on this screen, and they should be. This is AMOLED, and this phone is basically media based. 680 MHz processor, not the fastest processor in the world, but for a light operating system like the Symbian, it does the job pretty well. But if you're expecting very refined and superb operating system, well, you're on the wrong place. The Nokia Symbian is still Nokia, which means it will crash occasionally, and as you can see, the operation is that bit slower than the Android and the iOS rivals. So what are my favorites into this phone? Well, the best feature in this phone has to be the FM transmitter, which means this phone turns into a small radio station and you can play all your tunes on that selected frequency. It is very useful, especially when you don't have the plug for your 3.5mm headphone jack to your car stereo. You can use this frequency to play all your songs from this phone onto your car stereo. So that's a brilliant feature, and it works superb on this model. It was introduced in the N78, but in that model it was just useless. And apart from that, I think the phone looks very beautiful, and it has that business look, not as, how you say, stylistic as the N8, but for a businessman, conservative look is everything. What I don't like about this phone, well, what I don't like is the operating system. It's not just up to mark with Android or say Apple's iOS, but Nokia is charging a lot more for this phone. You can buy Samsung Wave for maybe exactly the same price or a bit less, and the beta operating system is far, well, there is no comparison between the Symbian and the beta operating system. But the beta operating system is very well refined, and it has that classy feel that this phone lacks in terms of operating system. When you look at this phone, this is typical Nokia, but when you look at the beta operating system, it feels like it's an Android or maybe an iOS. It's so refined and so beautiful. So what do I have to say about this phone at the end? Well, it's a brilliant phone. If you're looking for a Nokia, then this is the best Nokia you can get below the N8. But of course, you are also getting a lot less in terms of price. This is around 30% cheaper than the N8. But if you look at the competition, say the Samsung Wave, then I would say that this phone has, well, it's in big trouble, because that Wave is just superb. That Super AMOLED display, it's exquisite, and the operating system is very refined compared to this model. And of course, Samsung is racking up the apps in their app store, and that means the apps in this phone will soon be obsolete, and they will be because Nokia is dropping the Symbian operating system. And speaking of which, the apps on this are how you say, not refined. So the final verdict for this phone has to be very good phone but not refined. Thank you so much for watching.